I just walked past this pile of wood that is very close to where we stay at, and noticed this huge flush of oyster mushrooms. So we've been looking for a chance to share oyster mushrooms with you because we really like to eat them and they're super fun. Pleurotus austriatus is the Latin name, and they like to grow on hardwood. And I was just talking to Gumby, and we think this is probably tulip tree, just because of what the rest of the wood looks like. And there's even some around the back. Like, there are just, wow, there's like so many. And we're planning on eating some, so I'm going to go ahead and pick some off of here. Well, before I pick, I guess we'll look at how it's attached. So there's not really a stalk, and they kind of grow out like, would you say this is kind of like shelves?
Yeah, I consider this a polypore.
So this log has the oyster mushroom mycelium in it, which means that whenever the conditions are right, this baby will bloom again. Aren't we so lucky? Gumby, I think your mom was trying to tell us that there was a log and we just never saw it. So, as if you've gone out to forage for mushrooms, whoops, you'll know that some of them are at different stages. I just saw some like beetles come out of these. So maybe some of them are a little older, some of them might be like brand new young, and some of them are way past where you should eat them. But
yeah, it's definitely got that distinctive smell that I think of as like sort of fishy and sort of floral. It's a pleasant smell, flowery, fishy.
And don't get freaked out if you see some beetles. We'll be cleaning these out and cooking them well.
And I can tell they're on the older side because they were so hard to pluck.
Yeah, yeah.
The stalks are tough.
So this one over here, I'm not sure if this is old or not because it looks like it's been eaten too, but let's just see. Yeah, these are still kind of on the old side. Wow. Yeah, they are kind of old. So can you get I don't know how well you can get a close-up of the gills.
Let's see.
And I'm not exactly sure if you want to say anything about the gills, but to me it just kind of looks like you just generally get an idea of what it looks like.
Yeah, like it's kind of got like, it can be brown, gray, white, but it's always got this sort of pearly off-white, I don't know, it's a color that's really distinct. But as soon as I see that color, no matter what shade it is, from gray to brown to white, I'm like, oh, that's probably an oyster mushroom. And then I look underneath, and those gills Teresa was telling us about descend the stalk, and they're really close and fragile. You know, they're not thick. So that's another thing I look for. And then I smell it. And if you've, ever positively identified an oyster mushroom and you're like, okay, I'm smelling an oyster mushroom, definitely. It's a unique smell. And after that, that is one of the ways that I confirm it. Like, when I smell it, I'm like, oh, that's an oyster mushroom.
You said before it was like a kind of fishy floral.
Yeah. And I believe this is one of the mushrooms considered the foolproof for, so it's considered one of the easier ones to identify without too many dangerous ones to look that look alike. But as always, look it up in a field guide yourself. Don't just rely on ours or anybody's video. Do your own homework.
And yeah, we generally, as a practice, look it up before we eat it, even if we're like 99.999% sure. It just takes a few moments to look it up before we start eating something, popping it in our mouths. And I feel like there was one other thing I was gonna say. Yeah, we've eaten these before. We usually cook our mushrooms pretty well in butter, and that's kind of our favorite way of having them.
Well, they're beautiful, and I see them on tulip trees quite a bit. And the field guides will tell you they grow on hardwoods around here in North Carolina. I think maybe I've seen them in willow, but they definitely have their favorite trees, and they're pretty common. Like when you see them come out and you get an eye for them, you'll be going down the road and just see like, oh, there's oysters, there's oysters. They're a really common mushroom you see. Ooh, look at that pattern there too, the way the colors sort of mix together. That's a typical oyster pattern if you see it on top there. And another thing about oyster mushrooms is they're one of the easiest mushrooms to, I don't know if cultivate is the right word, but if you can find a log that you can move, or if you just, know where the log is and find where it is, as Teresa was alluding to earlier, you can they'll send out flushes over and over. Like I once gave somebody a gift of a log just kind of sitting in water. They're like, what the hell is this? And I was giving them an oyster log without having to inoculate it or anything. Nature's already done it for you.
Nice. And I think we were talking about this too, but oysters grow in the right conditions. They can grow all year round. So right now, it's actually a hot day in December in North Carolina, in the central part of North Carolina. And yeah, these have evidently been growing for a while. We had a little bit of rain last night, and yeah, colder temperatures are moving in, so we wanted to get a video and collect some of these. But yeah, different times a year, it might have a different coloration, maybe a little grayer, maybe a little bit lighter. But yeah, the general shape, this is just like excellent to show all the different ways that it can look.
Yeah, and they're fleshy. So if you come across something that feels really woody and like hard, super hard, it's probably not an oyster mushroom. Oyster mushrooms, have that nice, everything about it is just pleasant. The look of it, the smell of it, the feel of it, it's so fleshy and it's just beautiful even if you don't eat it.
Thank you, oyster mushrooms.
Yeah, thank you, oyster mushrooms.